Welcome, everyone. My name is Troy J. Bacon, and this is the Seraphim Serenade, where I bring in channeling my Seraphim guide Kazaya. And I do ask that while everyone's listening, and Kazaya is talking, to please keep yourselves muted. Um, I also do private sessions with Kazaya, private healing sessions with Seraphim Reiki and Angelic Reiki. Because I can read into your ancestors as well as grant healings for your ancestors and what you've inherited from them, and um, healings for your inherited shadows too. So the link for that will be in the description down below. Without further ado, I'll get started with Kazaya. He will be talking today about some things about humanity as well as the planet Earth. He's starting a series talking about each planet in our solar system as our solar system is evolving. So let's do this. Greetings, everyone. It is such an honor to be able to greet you again in this way and to be able to speak to humanity again in this fashion. For those of you listening later, my name is Kazaya, and I refer to myself as we, as I'm a group entity and a seraphim being. Seraphim are not as individuated or um, isolated, if you could call it that, by ego as humans are. So today I'll be sharing a teaching about the Earth, the planet Earth, as it's most relevant to humanity at this time. And as Troy had said, this will be the first in a process I'll be teaching about that your solar system is going through in this very interesting and pivotal and exciting for us to watch time in your change period. As we have said before, you are entering the last few years or so, wrapping up the change period, which is a type of energetic overlap of long counts as you're entering into the complete energies of a new long count at this time. And about the Earth, as you call it, Earth, one cosmic name for it is actually Urantia. Of course, many interstellar people call it by other names too, depending on where they come from. I have to say that Earth is a very, of course, happening and busy and diverse place, not only with the human people that you know and your cultures and societies, but of course with all the other biodiverse ecosystems and animals that you see, as well as the societies and ecosystems that you don't see, that keep themselves cloaked from you. The interstellar people, as well as other simple beings of nature that are just in a different octave from you. As we've said, and as many know, Gaia has chosen, actually quite some time ago, in your chronological time, a new, entire, more evolved state to enter into higher densities as a, a total sphere. And this means that not only the crust and the crystals, the foliage and fauna, as well as the atmospheres and total magnetosphere of the Earth must go through upgrades and evolution changes. And as the Earth has gone through many epochs, seen the rises and falls, and even some pretty much extinctions of other types of societies and peoples. There's a lot that has gone on here, and there's a lot that needs to heal and change. And because Gaia made a decision to shift and evolve into a more peaceful state of being, even as far back in what you call your 1940s and 50s, this was being sort of what you might call kick-started, um, decided upon by Gaia to go through this change, and has been quite gradual, as there are many other forces that need to be a part of this outside of the magnetosphere. And just as you know, you're coming out of, we could say, just about out of the Dark Ages. As a collective, you're not quite to the Golden Age. You still have a ways to go, but we see everything lighting up overall. And just as there's been much darkness, much confusion, much domination, and much pollution of this planet, there has been a long period of time in your time that these changes have been in effect. The magnetics of Gaia have always been in communication with, you could call it, with the magnetics of your sun, of course, with the other planets too, especially the closer ones. But just as magnetic fields are quantum, and the sun's magnetic field actually extends much further than you think, your solar system is encapsulated in a type of subtle magnetic sphere. And this solar system magnetic field unifies all the planets within the system in a quantum way that is what you could call a singularity. Quantum physicists haven't quite grasped this yet. And just as you know, thoughts are powerful, thoughts are fast, and thoughts come in and go and can be traded and transferred instantaneously. So it is the power of thoughts within, especially contained within the magnetosphere of each planet and the Earth, that unifies each society. And this is, as we have said, the mechanism in effect that brings in, creates the effect of fads and cultural movements. You're not just, of course, singular bodies and your very bright, powerful souls are also in a quantum singularity, technically with all the other souls, which is, for one example, applies, of course, to every day, but for months and many people weeks before the event you call 9/11, many people were feeling dread more so than usual and feeling just the emotional effect of what was incredibly likely to happen and in some ways being planned. And so humans are and can be that sensitive, connected, and precognitive. Many people have been saying that they feel something big coming, a big change. Some people are also projecting this feeling out with their anticipations and perceptions of fear and anxiety and doom that they imagine could happen. Many have given dates of when things will probably happen, but most have not come to be. So let's talk about the connection between Gaia and your sun. Many people have awakened to this fact, and it's honestly quite simple and happens on other planets that the flora, the plants, and especially medicinal and therapeutic plants develop and grow and evolve in ecosystems in areas that are, of course, of certain conditions. And the plants have this knowledge from the planet to grow in those areas where they're most needed. Many cooling plants tend to grow in desert and hot areas to offer the much needed cooling off and soothing effects where people need them. Some also warmer and hotter plants and plants that have certain spices grow in areas that are also congruent with those energies and have adapted to them. Some of these also grow in creative and artistic ways in their own expressions of spirit and Gaia's energy. And as we said before, Earth is a very important planet, not the only important inhabited planet in the solar system, but as it is so biodiverse and can contain and facilitate and nourish all types of flora and fauna. It's a rare type of planet, and that is why so many interstellar people have arrived here and settled here. And it's honestly a favorite of many too, which is why some have claimed it. However, now Gaia has chosen to shift into and gradually grow into a collective consciousness that, of course, humanity is awakening to many, especially what you call old souls and light workers, awakening to shifting their awareness more and more into collective behaviors and benefits and collective consciousness shifts. This will be an important and growing process within the surface dwelling societies, but we can give this prophecy that there will one day be a time when there will be a greater shared collective consciousness and connection that unifies, when you're all ready, the people on the surface as well as those living under the surface in their own societies. And this is the age ahead of you that the 49-year process of the Children of New Hope are preparing the planet for and will be. It was asked recently if there will be a sudden dramatic pole shift, and we said previously that there won't be a sudden flop of the poles. We would like everyone to understand that the nature of magnetic poles of Gaia, as well as on most other planets, is fairly static for the most part and does not just flop. They're very stable and rooted in one orientation for the most part, although as magnetics can shift and change in intensity and frequency and position, and with the poles, they shift also according to the metallic core of the Earth. You have seen some variations of them, but they change gradually, just as the law of graduation applies to humans and the planet and all of creation, that yes, some can shift, especially people can shift quite quickly with their choices and how they choose to be and make sudden leaps in evolution for some people. But for the most part, most people and most processes of nature occur gradually, which can be symbolized by the transitioning, gradual transitions of day and night, dusk and dawn, that don't just happen suddenly, but you can watch them over a period of time. And so, as changes are happening, there will be weather changes, some geographical and plate changes too. But know that all of this is akin to growth spurts and growing pains. The planet physically is going to become much more stable soon, a bit more than it has been after this change period. And there will always be some natural occurrences and processes, and there always has to be. But more stability of the planet will also be essential for the laying down of the foundations of heaven on earth, as some are doing now, so that the efforts that you're making and the progress you're seeing does not get just wiped away. It all counts, and this is part of a process, just as you're watching here and there, and overall at this time, greater solar weather being expressed from your sun. This is also part of the process that many have been anticipating and prophesying. So those are the main points that we'd like to share at this time. And as this is a group interaction, I'd like to open this channel for questions. We love questions.
Okay, if anybody has a question to ask, you can just unmute yourself and ask. I guess I'll start off with a question. There's a lot of talk about the Akashic records and karmic records being reset or erased. Is this part of our ascension process, or is this happening?
We can say that the records themselves remain in the heavenly world, heavenly realm, but your association to them, yes, is evolving as you're familiar with the Maya veil that causes forgetfulness of your soul, so that you're not just constantly remembering many, many lifetimes worth of both trauma and lovely things all the time and being distracted by those. It serves the purpose of allowing you to focus on who you are and where you are here and now. But yes, as the most human genetics are evolving, as they're being um, kind of activated, kind of like how plants and crystals respond to sound frequencies. Human genetics are growing and evolving now in response to the shifting of the harmonics of Gaia's frequencies. And yes, human genetics are graduating to a state where it's becoming more and more common for, and will be, for newborns and new generations to not be so burdened with lots of past life trauma, and baggage and fears that they come in with, just as all of you have and grew up with. Some you didn't understand for a long time. And this will serve better for the evolution so that it's more like a dialing, a turning of the dial from being burdened by that baggage, turning it to remembering naturally more and more of the light, your gifts and powers and purpose. That's not to say that the trauma and the tough stuff is not still there. It can be there and can be remembered and dealt with, but it's not going to be such a heavy burdening signal, so that humanity will evolve living in light instead of living in darkness to a greater degree.
I have a question. You had spoke about the crystals and the frequency. Should we go more into um like energy healing using sounds and crystals together?
Yes, this can definitely be a boost to the energetic effects of crystals, especially with the human aura. There's already a great deal of electromagnetic and spiritual power of the human aura that doesn't necessarily always need things like crystals to do and posture energies for it. It can create those itself. But yes, crystals can be an aid, and sound frequencies can activate crystals, especially according to their structure, their conductivity, and their colors. And it is the difference between just letting them sit, in which they can still be themselves, and having them be more active. the difference between, you can imagine letting humans sit and they still have their mind and will and personality while they're sitting, versus getting up and perhaps doing some exercise and getting parts of themselves active and moving, and then be more clear and efficient to do their work.
I have a quick question. What day of the week would be the preferential day to have a healing group on?
Hmm. We can say that Tuesdays are a particular day that many spiritual groups actually tend to meet, some by awareness and intention, some by not, but many other activities and dates and things of your society are also set on Tuesdays. Think of your elections, other due dates are set on Tuesdays, some days in which business is conducted, certain types of business things are maintained, often happen on Tuesdays. And Tuesdays can be empowering days. However, that's not to say that all the other days are less powerful or less efficient. It truly depends on the energy of the day, but perhaps what's more important and more practical is tuning into your own energy first, and then also feeling into and observing, even with astrological types of predictions, looking at the more electromagnetic and subtle energies that are actually being generated and changing on certain days, which then comes down to also a factor of availability for each person, depending on their commitments in life. As some people work better to run certain groups when they have a free day and the right window of free time, where their energy and body and all of their personal factors are also accounted for and situated correctly.
I have a question. We're coming up on the Lionsgate portal again. Is there anything that we should um, do to celebrate or energy clearing or anything? Any suggestions on that time or that day?
Hmm. For the Lionsgate portal in particular, you can recommend just to pet some cats and let their energy help you open up and bring in, connect with energies of other realms that they can naturally tune into. So, in addition to petting some cats, just as many have the meditations that you've been doing, especially connecting with stars, are beneficial. What can also be effective is joining with a group energy on such a day and such a portal of time. We see that there is a great deal of opening of energies, a shift in an empowerment of energies in this dog days of summer time that happens every year. And just as your energy can be powerful as beings, group energy can be powerful when whole groups or a community, a society, a unified meditation group has the same intention, same thing that they're doing with their consciousness at the same time.
Go along with that, would it be more beneficial to meet in person or online, or would it matter?
There is an effect, a type of more slightly more physical and electromagnetic energy that's exchanged between people in personal interactions and close proximity. But as a collective, there's still potent collective spiritual and metaphysical energy that is generated with the same focus, the same intention and activities across great distances. Part of this comes back to the effect of magnetics that we've talked about, as all matter and energy does work in some way with magnetic energy. And so it's that shared intention and activity within the ethereal world that creates a stronger cohesive effect, um, beyond the physical. And then, for example, there's a phenomena that many have observed on this planet that you call tulpas, which are entities and beings that people seem to see and experience. They didn't used to be there actually, but were kind of created by the collective attention on a certain mythological type of being or a character. And then, as just as we said, there are spiritual ecosystems too. And so in some of those spiritual ecosystems, a being, some malevolent, some not, can be empowered and coalesce into a more apparently tangible manifestation as you witness it. And so similar effects can happen from just long distance collective energy in the ethereal world of a lot of people joining with the same intention, same focus of creation, especially at the same time, brings in that shared collective energy that sometimes can then even be tapped into later for a specific focus. But yes, then does have a significant healing and manifesting effect for all involved.
Guys, we have time for one more question. Anybody else with a question? If not, we can go ahead and let Troy get wrapped up here.
As there seem to be no further questions at this time, we do always recommend that each person take their time to plant your feet, bare feet on the earth, smell some flowers. Roses are especially lovely. Feel the warmth of the sun, caress your skin, and cleanse yourself in wild waters safely as much as you can. And there is always so much love and miracles available for those of you who are open to and welcome it. All is well.